It's episode 670 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. On today's show, talking about a 9-game losing streak the Rangers are riding, the Rangers being free of Dallas Keuchel finally, and a top prospect who is coming back up to the majors. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Tuesday, September 6th. Your Rangers are 58-76. Unfortunately, now have been passed by the Angels and sit in 4th place in the AL West. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show to comment any single thing below. Now, this is a dark time for the Rangers. They had a terrible month of April. They had a great month of May, and since then they have not had a winning month, and they have not had a single win in the month of September, and it is now September 6th. I don't think that is going to change, maybe even until Friday, maybe not. The Rangers are probably going to get swept by this Astros series. They just had their best chance to win. They had a great performance by Martin Perez, and they were shut out in a 1-0 loss. Their 29th 1-1 loss of the season. Yeah, it's bad, but if you're looking for the bright spot, well, keep waiting because it's not good right now. Things are just bad for the Rangers. You know, I'd like to provide a little bit of optimism, so I will give you this nugget. The Rangers are free of Dallas Keuchel. That's a good thing. The Houston Keuchel experiment is over. I think his major league career is over unless something dramatic changes. He's had 3 different major league stops this year. He has been bad, then really bad, then atrocious at those 3 spots respectively. And the Rangers, man, I really didn't want them to pick him up in general. I really didn't want them to pull him up to the majors, and I am incredibly glad that they moved on very quickly. I mean, two bullpen games in a row would be a lot to ask, but honestly, with how he did and how bad this game was on Friday, this is one of the most painful games of baseball that I have ever watched. I turned it off halfway through. I was still just had seen more than enough. Dallas Keuchel was horrendous in his time with the Rangers. Absolutely horrendous. He started 2 games. He had a 12.60 ERA in 10 innings. That's the only positive, is that he saved this bullpen 10 innings of work in 2 games. That's it's not Jordan Lyles, because Jordan Lyles could at least go into the 6th inning. He could at least, keep it below 6 runs allowed in each game, but Dallas Keuchel could not do that. He was just horrendous. Hitters hit 409 against him. He had a whip of 220, and he just could not do anything to retire these base runners. They just kept reaching and kept reaching and kept reaching against him. He did have more strikeouts than I thought he would, 7 in 10 innings, which is, better than he was doing. But, without some of that sticky stuff magic that he was using with the Astros, it seems like he's not quite as good at throwing baseballs. And, it's a darn shame. Very glad that he is on his way and not pitching for the Rangers anymore. I don't care if they do 2 bullpen games every time through the rotation from this point to the end of time. I never want to see Houston Keuchel in a Rangers uniform ever again. This was a 9-1 loss. The Rangers just got absolutely shellacked. They had 6 hits, 3 walks in this one, but they just could not do a darn thing with runners in scoring position or just runners on base. They were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position in this game. The only extra base hits were a double from Marcus Semien and a double from Nathaniel Lowe, both their 22nd of the season. They got Nick Pivetta out after 3 innings, and they just could not get to this Red Sox bullpen that has been not great. They could not get to a not great bullpen because, it felt pretty hopeless at this point. They did get Charlie Culberson doing the thing that he's done best this season, pitch. He has a 0 ERA on the season, which is better than Dallas Keuchel. Yeah, Charlie Culberson has been a better pitcher in the major leagues, in my opinion, than Dallas Keuchel. I mean, maybe not, but kind of a little bit. And it was just a bad defensive weekend. A pair of errors for the Rangers in this one from Leo Taveras, one from Ezekiel Duran. It was Ezekiel Duran's ninth error of the season. The very next game, the Rangers had three errors in this one, and then the final game, they at least kept it error free in that one, but they have not been great defensively. They have been lapsing. We know they're not a great infield defense, but the main culprit of my defensive ire, Nathaniel Lowe, has been mostly harmless defensively. There have been a lot of other more frustrating defensive woes in this one. But I mean, the main thing is the Rangers are rid of Dallas Keuchel, and that is, empirically good news. The Rangers had a chance in their bullpen game on Saturday. The Rangers lost 5-3, and it was a better pitched game than the one they had by an alleged starter. And one of the worst throwers in this one was Kohei Arihara, who did go 2 innings but allowed 2 runs. Granted, one of those was unearned because, again, a 3 error day really is not going to help you when the Rangers were at that point on a, I believe, six game losing streak. 6 games, I think it was at that point, if my math is correct. But just not a whole lot done by the Rangers this one. And unfortunately, Dennis Santana gets pigeonholed with the loss in this one, even though they only gave up 1 run. But the Rangers just could not manage to do much of anything. The Rangers got beaten this one by a Red Sox team that didn't have a single home run and went 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position. 1 for 14. The errors and the walks just absolutely killed them in this one. It is just, they beat themselves very badly in this one. They were able to come back and make it close in the 8th inning. They got a home run by Marcus Semien. They had a home run by Nathaniel Lowe, both in that 8th inning. You thought, okay, well, maybe they have a chance to do anything. Wrong. They have no chance to do nothing. That is just what they do. They could not get a thing done, even with some threatening aura in the 9th inning. The Rangers had base runners in that 9th inning. They had a single by Cole Calhoun. They had a single by Jonah Heim. They had a single by Bubba Thompson. You had runners with the bases loaded, with the top of your order coming out. But here comes Marcus Semien. He strikes out, and Corey Seager grounds out to the pitcher, John Schreiber, and that was it. That was that. And the Rangers lost their best chance to end that losing streak until Monday. We'll get into that a little bit later. And we're going to get into a call up of well, I guess I lied a little bit, but I had to give you some hope. It's not, he has lost prospect status, but he is a talented youngster who is back up in the big leagues. We'll get into that and another prospect who is on an absolute historic tear. But first, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. As you gear up for fall, you might need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes with LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience. You can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs in #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Now, the Rangers have called up Sam Huff. He is going to be replacing Mabrys Valoria as the primary backup catcher, and Tony Beasley said he is probably going to catch one game a series. So, one out of every 3 to 4 to sometimes 2-ish games. That's pretty good. Well, what has Sam Huff been doing as of late to get ready? Well, he had a great game on Saturday. I believe he had 3 hits and a home run. He has got 21 home runs in Round Rock so far this season. He's got an OPS of 868, and he has been making some improvements from behind the plate. Offensively, at the big league level, he has not quite lived up to that big 80 grade power that he has that has shown up a lot in games at the minor league level, but not quite as much at the major league level this season. He's played in 30 games this year at the big league level, hitting 260 with an on base of 305, slugging just 325, which is, not exactly what you expect from a catcher who is 6'5", 240 pounds, and has hit some of the longest home runs the Rangers have seen in their minor league system. Some routinely hit, well, I wouldn't say routinely, but, more than never hit 500 feet. This guy has got literally light tower power, and he has the potential to be a really solid frontline catcher. The catching experience they want to get him is with the Rangers catching coordinator Bobby Wilson, who is a longtime big league veteran catcher. I believe it was 2016, it might have been, when he was with the Rangers. He had an absolute tear in like 10 games and then was designated for assignment and went somewhere else. Just a career big league backup catcher who brings a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience, and has really helped the Rangers out. We've seen the impact that he's had defensively, how great the Rangers have been at framing pitches and just defensively in the catcher position. I mean, they saw it from Jose Trevino, who is leading all of baseball in, I believe it is framing, and Jonah Heim has been right up there with him. And, Trevino learned a whole lot from Bobby Wilson. It's been very, very valuable to them. And, I think it's time to get him some looks. Maybe Florio was fine in his time with the Rangers, but the upside of Sam Huff is just much, much higher. And, a guy who doesn't have a super high ceiling because he is a first base only guy is Blaine Crim, much beloved, one of my favorite guys to talk to at Media Day. His 6 games, his most recent 6 games, earned him Texas League Player of the Week, and they were absolutely historic. Like, just otherworldly what he did against Amarillo. In a 6-game series, he hit 500, 14 for 28. He had 2 doubles, 6 home runs. He had home runs in 5 straight games. One of those was a multi-homer day for the week. He also had a pair of walks. His slash line was 500, 533, slugged 1214. That's not an OPS. That is a slugging percentage of 1214. He was just absolutely ridiculously on. He had 5 hits on September 2nd, and according to the Roughriders website, he is the first one to do that for a Roughriders player in a game since Odubel Herrera back in 2013. That is a franchise record. The 5 straight home runs, or 5 straight games with a home run, is tied with Trey Hare, who did it in June of 2022, which is kind of wild that both of these guys did it in the same season. And he's got a chance to extend the streak on Tuesday, tonight, as Jack Leiter's pitching in his final home game of the season for the Roughriders. This is their final homestand. We will not see Owen White in this homestand. I may be able to go see Mason Englert on Friday. We'll see, because that might also be the day that Josh Jung makes his major league debut, and I kind of want to be there for that. On the season, he raised his OPS from 790 to 851 in a week, with like 3 weeks left in the regular season. That's how insanely good his week was. I mean, the guy has to hit and hit and hit and hit and hit, just like any first base prospect. Really great clubhouse guy. He is a little bit older, but for the season, he's hitting 291 and on base of 359, slugging 492. Would like to see that slugging percentage be a little bit over 800, but the 22 homers on the season is solid. That's about what you're looking for from this guy. He is really taken a step forward, and you love to see that for a guy who, you just have to hit. You just absolutely have to hit. And so far, he has at this point, and that has been encouraging, but he's going to have to continue to absolutely mash. He's probably going to be at AAA next year, getting some reps at first base as probably their everyday first baseman. But I am encouraged by him. I really like the kid. He is a really, really late draft pick. I believe it was the 19th round back in 2019 out of Mississippi College. For his minor league career, he has got an on base of 369, an OPS of 893. He has shown the ability to get homers in bunches. Last year, he had 29 home runs for the season. I mean, if he has another 6, he has another 6 in 5 games. He might end up tying that this year, but he has been on another level as of late. He has been striking out less. He has been walking a little bit more than last year and at a higher rate. That is encouraging. And he has also been able to hit for average as well. He's got 22 doubles as well as his 22 home runs on the season. I really like the kid. I don't know if he's going to be a big leaguer long term. He might be able to make his big league debut to get a first baseman in a pinch, but the bat is strong, and I think he's definitely got some potential in there. He is a little bit older. Like I said, he is 25 years old. He turned 25 this year. But like the kid, heck of a week and definitely deserves a shout out for an outstanding week of baseball. Some of the best that we have seen on this farm. By the way, Evan Carter has been activated off the IL. He is back in Hickory. We'll see if he makes his Double A debut at the end of the season. Maybe gets on the Rough Riders for their playoff run. I believe they are leading the division at this point. Did not lead it at halftime, so they might be able to sneak into the playoffs and take that division lead, and maybe even win a Texas League. Maybe even win the Texas League. Who knows? Who knows? Could be a lot of fun. Doesn't really matter in the long term, but would definitely be a nice boost, nice end of the season for some of those guys who have worked really, really hard in Double A. Coming up, we're going to look at the final game of that Red Sox series and a stark contrast and a frustrating 1-0 loss to the Astros and what this says about the Rangers and the Astros and their futures. But first, this word from our sponsors. Now, let's look at this final game of the series against the Red Sox. Texas lost this one 2-5 in this one, and it was another rough outing for Dane Dunning on the road. It was foretold by the prophecy. Dane Dunning might never, ever, ever get a win on the road. He has been so unlucky and at times so bad. This was just a rough outing for him. I mean, he gave up 4 runs in the bottom of that first inning. Texas gave him a 2-run lead in the top of that first inning. They gave him 2 runs. They had a ground rule double that was hit by Adolis Garcia, and Jonah Heim had a productive out to score Nathaniel Lowe and move Adolis Garcia over to third base. They could have gotten a little bit more, but, that was that, and they got a pair of runs in that first inning. But by the end of the second inning, they were down 5-2, and nobody else would score for the rest of the entire game. This was just another outing of the Rangers not being able to do enough offensively to try and stay in this one, but it was a solid outing for John King, who was the one who was called up from the taxi squad when Houston Keuchel was DFA'd. He pitched 3 shutout innings in this one, much needed for him. Jonathan Hernandez only worked 1 inning, and one of the nice things when you have an overworked bullpen and a starting rotation that is among the worst in baseball is that when you keep losing games, you only have to pitch on the road, you only have to pitch 8 innings. So, bonus, some kind of bonus that is. It's not a great one, but you gotta look for upside where you can get it. Marcus Semien had his 21st stolen base of the season. Adolis Garcia had his 26th double of the season. That leads the Rangers in doubles at this point. And Marcus Semien has passed Corey Seager according to Baseball Reference in WAR. He is at 4.1 WAR on the season. Martin Perez still leads at 4.3 WAR. And Nathaniel Lowe is, he's not going to catch Corey Seager, but he is gaining on everybody else. He is past Adolis Garcia. Both of them are at 2.8 WAR. Corey Seager is at 3.7 WAR on the season. And but Marcus Semien has really been on a tear as of late. In his last 15 games, he is hitting 323 with an on-base of 368 and slugging 581. He's got 3 home runs in that span, a decent amount of doubles, 5 walks to 13 strikeouts, and a pair of stolen bases. He is finishing out the season strongly. That's how he usually does it. He usually gets better as the season progresses, has rough starts to the season, then kind of finds his footing midway on, and then just absolutely launches into a tear in August and September. This year, August was a bit of a rough month for him, but towards the end, he started picking it up a little bit, and in the month of September so far, he has been doing very, very well, even though the Rangers have not been doing well at all. But let's look at this 1-0 loss. A frustrating loss for the Rangers. got 3 hits and 1 walk in this one. They struck out 10 times as a team, and we got to see old Mr. Brown, old Hunter Brown, come up make his major league debut. Congratulations to the kid, the 5th round pick out of Detroit from Wayne State. That's right, a 5th round pick from Wayne State College, who most of you have never heard of. I have never heard of before this. Comes in, works 6 shutout innings, strikes out 5 in his major league debut, sits 95 to 97 with his fastball, and has a slider that, it's it topped out at 95.7 miles an hour, and the only person who's thrown a harder slider this year is Jacob freaking DeGrom. Yep, here they do it again. Here they do it again and again and again. Their entire rotation outside of Justin Verlander is homegrown guys, just complete with homegrown guys almost entirely. I think there might be 1 or 2 starters that are not with them anymore that have pitched some games that have not been homegrown starters. For the most part, it's just homegrown guys, and it's not these, 1st round picks. It's not these, 2nd round picks. It's not these marquee signings for the most part. It's these guys that they get off the scrap pile. These guys they sign at like 18 or 19 for like $10,000 out of, Mexico or the Dominican that got overlooked that, just started throwing 95 when they were a little bit older and scouts stopped looking at them. Or these guys in the 5th round who throw a 96 mile an hour friggin' slider. It's just so incredibly stark, the difference in homegrown pitching for the Rangers versus for the Astros. I mean, Taylor Hearn was, well, you could generously call him a homegrown starter in that he was from the area, but the Rangers only got him when he was in Double A. They did not draft and develop him. They did trade for him. They did develop him a little bit, but he didn't end up working out as a starter. The only one that's really a homegrown starter at this point, Dane Dunning, came as a major league finished product. The rest of these guys were signed as major league finished product. I mean, they do have a little bit from Cole Reagans, who is probably going to be coming back up fairly soon, getting off of that IL. But Martin Perez is pretty much the only homegrown starter, and he was fantastic again in this one. Held the Astros to just 1 run in 7 innings of work, just 1 walk, 6 hits, 5 strikeouts, and the 1 run, of course, it came from Martin frickin' Maldonado. An RBI single, out of 8 hits for the Astros in this one. Only 1 walk for the Astros in this one. And of course, it scores on a very close play, sending the first baseman, actually, I think Mancini did play left field, but pretty much a first baseman / DH. Not a fast runner. Running from second base, Bubba Thompson, the ball was hit to him. He does not have the strongest arm. It was fairly offline. An online throw probably would have gotten it if he hit the cutoff man. If there was a cutoff man that was ready to go, throw it to the catcher. But the throw brought the catcher, Jonah Heim, up the third base side into foul territory, and the run was able to score. That was the only run the entire game. There was another close play that the Rangers were able to get Jose Altuve out on. Astros fans were really mad on Twitter because they only saw one angle and thought, yeah, that definitely shows how Jose Altuve was safe. He wasn't safe. He was not safe. He was thrown out. It was a great defensive play. But the Rangers could not do a darn thing offensively. And once the Astros bullpen came in and Brian Abreu, Hector Neris, and Rafael Montero, the Rangers were just kaput. Absolutely kaput. They had 5 strikeouts between them in those 3 innings, and not a single base runner allowed. There was absolutely no hope. Once the Rangers were down 1 run, I thought, okay, of course, this is going to be the 29th 1-run loss of the season. Can they hit 30 by the end of the year? Probably. Can they hit 40? Probably not. That's a bit aggressive, but, who knows? Shoot for the moon, you might reach among the stars. And with this Rangers' bad record now being in 4th place in the AL West, you think, oh, well, maybe they're going to be close to being in that lottery for the top overall pick. They don't have to go all the way to being the worst. No. Pittsburgh Pirates at 49 and 84 at this point. The Oakland Athletics are 50 and 85. The Detroit Tigers are 51 and 84. The Rangers are very far off. They'd have to lose pretty much every game for the rest of the season and hope that all those teams went on winning streaks. The Nationals are 48 and 87. Like they are probably not going to be in the vying for that lottery of a top overall pick. They're probably going to pick somewhere around 7th to 10th, which, for how frustrating the season has been, feels like just even more deflating. You think, okay, well, they've been really bad, so, okay, maybe they'll have at least a high pick. No, probably not. But, That's just the way things go. And at this point, we had that nice thing to hold on to of, oh hey, their Pythagorean record has them with, like, 5 games above 500. Maybe this isn't as bad as they should be. Well, with how bad the starting pitching has been as of late, and the desperate need for John Gray to come back, their Pythagorean record has slipped to 66 and 88. They have allowed 12 more runs than they have scored this season, back into the negative on run differential. And a 9-game losing streak will freaking do that for you. I don't think the Rangers are going to have a 9-game winning streak to offset that because, well, just look at this team right now. They are in a really, really bad way. Maybe a Josh Young promotion at the end of the week will be able to solve a lot of that, but honestly, I kind of doubt it. Just need John Gray to come back. Really, 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 really need Cole Reagans to come back and find what made him dominant in throwing strikes in AAA and AA this year. But even then, I'm not entirely sure how much good that is going to do. Texas is in a rough way to end the season, and honestly, it kind of feels like they need to be put out of their misery. They are just not feeling it as of now. That 1 week where they had winning baseball in the midst of all that turmoil seems like an absolute miracle at this point, but things are not turning around as of right now. They need some just huge leaps from every single one of their starting pitchers. They need some of the other guys in the lineup to turn it on. Corey Seager to find another hot streak. Nathaniel Lowe to kind of keep up what he's doing. And Jonah Heim to pull out of the absolute offensive doldrums that he has been in as of late. It is just a rough, rough spot for this Rangers team at this point, and they just really need any sign of hope. One win would just make all the difference. Just don't get swept in Houston. They probably will, but I am holding out the smallest bit of hope that they can turn around and not have an absolutely disastrous end to the season like they've been having. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. Thank you all for making it your first listen every day. Now, for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022, an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one ultimate NFL preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.